Hey there, it's Lacy J from Space Bear Media, the makers of Lost in My 40s. Did you know that you can go to spacebearmedia.com right now to access all our content, including our weekly video pre-shows where your hosts ponder ethical questions related to the week's episode and answer some fun questions just for, well, fun. Speaking of fun, if you have it thanks to our content, please consider rating or reviewing Lost in My 40s on your favorite app, or recommend us to a friend who loves Lost. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are here, Lost in My 40s, Season 2, Episode 21. It is titled Question Mark. It's an echo episode.
I thought it was titled, Huh?
Or that.
They couldn't think of a title.
It's an echo episode. It's a Ben episode. But first, how's everybody?
Good.
Doing well?
Just Christy's fine. Boys are... No. All right. We are off to an exciting start today. Ben, remind us, where are the power rankings as of last week?
Yeah, we had Mr. Echo in first place still with 115 points. We had Hurley come up and tie Jack for second place with 79 points, and Kate in third place with 71. The bottom of the barrel, we got a two-way race with Mr. Cooper and Charlie at negative 62 and negative 61, respectively, with Henry Gale at negative 37 points. But of note, Michael had a 30-point swing into the red for his actions of, killing off some of the loveliest members of the island.
Some of the loveliest. All right, yeah. Don't kill the hot chicks. What the fuck?
Yeah, man.
Oh, God, if anything ever happens to Kate, I'll just stop.
I know.
All right, Benjamin, why don't you tell us about Question Mark?
Yeah. So when we come into this episode, Mr. Echo is chopping wood for the church. And all of a sudden you hear Anna's voice. She asks him, "What are you building?" Echo looks up at Anna, who has got like this, she's kind of off center on the screen, and there's like, she's standing like a statue, and there's like this light behind her almost, and it just doesn't look real.
It reminds me of the episode, the kidnapping, Charlie baby kidnapping episode.
When he sees the women and they look really weird.
They look like a religious painting. It has that sort of same effect in a way, very surreal looking.
Sort of that glow.
Right.
Yeah, he tells her that he's building a church because he was told to do so in a dream. And then Ana Lucia says, "A dream like this one?" And when he says that, they pan to her, and then you see all of a sudden there's like blood appears on her. She looks like basically like all of the color's gone out of her face, and she looks like she's dead. Echo stares at her, and she says, "You need to help John." And then there's a series of flashes from Echo's life on the screen, and then the scene changes to him standing in the hatch. He's still holding the axe that he was using to build a church, and his brother Yemi is sitting at the computer where they typically type in the numbers. They say hello, and then Echo apologizes to Yemi, telling him that when they were in Nigeria or whatever, he was right about everything. And then Yemi tells him, "The work that's being done in this place is important, Echo. It's more important than anything, and it is in danger. You must help John. He has lost his way."
Lost.
So at this point, what I almost imagined him saying was like, "He has lost his way, brother. He will not institute his two-man standard operating procedure. His administrative work is in serious doubt, brother."
Right. He needs his supervisor, Randy Douchebag Nations, to get him in line.
Right, man.
Yeah, don't miss the one important thing that Yemi says, though, is you must make John take you to the question mark.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Dun, dun.
Yeah, you must take him to the question mark. And then the timer, still in the dream, the timer starts beeping and the numbers start flipping around. And all they show are like red and black question marks. So then Yemi, like he's going to start typing the numbers in, looks down at the computer, but then all of the computer keys are question marks. And then all of a sudden, all of the machines in the room start shaking. And Yemi tells Echo that Locke won't want to show him the question mark. So Echo's going to have to force him. And then Yemi, before this dream ends, the last thing Yemi says is, "An echo, bring the axe."
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At which point, Echo wakes up, breathing really hard. He holds his brother's crucifix around his neck. Charlie wakes up and asks him what's the matter. And Echo is like feverishly moving around. He goes and grabs the axe. Says, "I need to find John."
I think that it's just a cross, not a crucifix.
Oh, what's the difference?
Oh, it's like it doesn't have a crucifix has Jesus on it. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Okay, I did not know that.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm Charlie, because they're little pals over there in their church building section of the island. But if I'm Charlie and this guy wakes up, come on, we got to face it. Like, this guy can be terrifying looking when he wakes up, and he's like really, really tense, and he goes and he grabs an axe, and he's breathing heavily. I run like a motherfucker. Like, I don't want to find out that if I'm misinterpreting the signals, cool. But if I'm not, that dude could really do some damage very, very quickly. So
probably killed 2 people with his bare hands, pretty much.
Yeah.
he did.
So it's still nighttime on day 64, and Locke, Kate, Jack, and Sawyer are walking through the jungle. Jack is scolding Locke for not telling him about Henry trying to choke Anna earlier. Kate defends Locke. Sawyer chastises Locke, and then Jack points out that if Sawyer hadn't lost the gun to Anna, they wouldn't be running around the hatch trying to stop her now. Sawyer gets pissed and says, "Well, ain't that swell? Gimpy McCrutch over here covers up the artist formerly known as Henry Gale tried to strangle your little amiga, and suddenly it's on me when she goes vigilante."
I mean,
He's not wrong. Nope.
How does he not stutter when he's delivering these lines? Like,
Yeah.
like
Because he's smooth.
just
He's a smooth.
he's just so
con
smooth,
man.
so
Yes.
smooth, man.
Yeah, he is a con man, so.
And suddenly, Michael stumbles out the hatch door and tells him that he was sleeping, heard gunshots. Yeah, and then Henry shot him and ran off.
And he goes, Walt!
Whoa! That's what the first thing I thought was when the door opened up and he came out. He was gonna be like, "Carl." So Jack tells the others to look in the hatch while he helps Michael, and then Echo appears and then offers to help Jack. And then Sawyer, Kate, and Locke enter the hatch to find Anna and Libby shot dead. Sawyer runs to Libby, Kate runs to Anna, and Locke looks for Henry.
Henry gone.
Yeah,
Henry, yeah. Henry is not there.
I picture him like in an old Acme cartoon or something where the legs start like spinning and then in one place and then like pew and just take off.
Mr. Echo and Jack enter the hatch carrying Michael. She's dead, is what Kate says when they come in about Anna. Then suddenly Libby coughs blood all over Sawyer while he's like hovering over her. Everyone had thought she was dead.
I think Sawyer would go to Anna, because they just, shared fluids.
Yeah,
Oh my.
yeah.
But he did get her number, so.
That's true. He was trying to play that
into
one.
cuddles.
No.
He was trying to play that one cool.
Yep.
Jack tells everyone to get her up into the back. Tells everyone to get Libby up and get her into the back room. And Michael is kind of staring in shock and panic. And
I fucking bet.
She's alive, yeah.
Yeah, she's alive. Yeah. And that takes us to the title screen. Echo places Anna's arms over her chest and then blesses her. And I guess she's in the what is that room? The armory? The armory
yeah.
slash.
No, she was sitting. She was
She was
shot on
probably
the
a
couch.
pantry before, but it turned
She
into
was in the living room. She was just sitting on the
She was
couch.
on the couch.
Yeah.
Oh, was she? I thought they had moved her at this point.
No, they're still all in the same position.
Okay. And then, so Jack and Kate are dealing with Libby, who's moaning in pain in the other room. Jack says that she's in shock and tells Kate, put pressure on the wound, kind of tells her how to treat what's going on here. Jack exits the room and then comes into the kitchen, and where Michael asks him how Libby's doing. Jack doesn't really say anything. He just wants to know how long ago it happened. And Mike tells him it was something like 20 minutes and says that they think and that they should go after Henry. Echo actually kind of chimes in, volunteers to go on the search so that Jack, being the doctor, can tend to Libby. And he asks Locke to come with him. Jack.
Yeah, because he has no intention of looking for Henry.
No,
They're
not
going
at
to the
all.
question mark.
Yeah, exactly. Jack insists that they come right back to figure out their next move if they find anything. This brings us to flashback number 1. Echo is dressed as a priest and sits in a confessional talking to a parishioner. At first, the man tells Echo that he needs forgiveness for being unfaithful to his wife. I think Echo asks him multiple times, asks him if he had done this multiple times. And then he tells the guy that the guy also says that he needs forgiving for forging ID papers for a guy pretending to be a priest.
Uh-oh.
The scene then changes to Echo and the man outside the church. The man hands Echo, monsignORRRR. The man hands Echo a fake Australian passport and asks Echo if he stole from the collection plate, and tells him that and says that he knows people in LA that he can hook him up for, like he can hook up with if he when he gets there if he needs work. Before Echo can say anything, the monsignORRRR enters. And Echo introduces this guy who's selling him the fake papers, Mr. Caldwell, and tells him that he's helping Echo plan his trip to the United States. The monsignORRRR tells Echo that his trip to the States is canceled.
monsignORRRR.
Did I say monsignORRRR? Monsignor?
You said monsignORRRR.
monsignORRRR.
All right. The monsignORRRR tells Echo the trip to the U.S. is canceled because a miracle needs investigating. So then we cut to yet another scene within the flashback. This is like a 3-stage flashback.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of these. It changes to Echo and the monsignORRRR, with a woman claiming that her daughter had slipped into a river, drowned, and then come back to life the next day. She is very, very insistent that they just start telling the Vatican right away that, this is an affirmation of faith and all of these other things. But the monsignORRRR says that they can't do that until an investigation has been done. Echo refers to the woman as Mrs. Malkin, which is a name we have heard before.
Whoa.
Well, Malkin is a name we've heard before.
Yes.
It is.
And
Did you recognize it right away, Derek? Did you realize what we were dealing with?
Yeah.
Because you're psychic.
Yeah. No, I mean,
All right.
I've noticed with this show, everything is intertwined. I mean,
Indeed, it is.
Really?
And this little drowned girl, whose name is Charlotte. This will not be the last time you see her either.
yeah, because I have questions about her. But yeah, let's go ahead.
They may or may not be answered, but this is the introduction of Charlotte, and it is not her end.
Echo, as he refers to her as Mrs. Malkin, asks her if he and the monsignORRRR can have a moment alone. When she leaves, Echo tells the monsignORRRR that he cannot investigate this miracle because he doesn't believe what she says. The monsignORRRR retorts, and that is precisely why you've been chosen to do this.
monsignORRRR. I think you're really struggling with the fact that it's spelled with an OR, but it's pronounced with an ER. It's just Monsignor. I guess the word senior has an OR too. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
monsignORRRR. Anyways.
I like monsignORRRR.
All right.
Anywho.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just calling it I'm just calling it monsignor from now on. So you guys just
That's how it's spelled, yeah.
monsignORRRR.
So back to the present. Echo and Locke are walking through the jungle. Locke is confused about why Echo seems confident of the direction because he doesn't see a trail. He's a tracker and he doesn't see shit. So Echo asks, "Where is the question mark?"
What?
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 I always thought it'd been funny if Locke at that point just says after the last word of the sentence is silly.
Ba-dum-bum-bum.
I mean, I'm assuming it's the from that map that Locke saw with the question mark in the middle.
Oh.
Yeah. But where? Where
Yes.
is it?
That's the big question.
It is. Locke doesn't know what he's talking about and gets kind of frustrated and tries to leave. Echo steps in front of him and says he knows Locke doesn't want to show him where the question mark is, but he must. Locke again says there's nothing to show.
Mr. Echo.
No, don't argue with Mr. Echo.
Which he soon provides evidence for. He apologizes to Locke and then headbutts him and knocks him unconscious.
Oops. Another head injury on the island. Fuck a cobbler. They need a neurologist.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, man.
Definitely.
Need somebody to deal with a little bit of head trauma. So fast forward a little bit, still in the present, Echo and Locke are now sitting by a fire as Locke is coming around from his headbutting incident. He wants to know why Echo did that, and Echo says, because you were being difficult.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love that line.
It's an honest answer.
Yeah.
Locke wonders if Echo has gone insane after Anna was murdered.
But my thing here is, because it's not like Locke ever randomly knocks anyone unconscious.
Yeah, right.
Or drugs them with random plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe what he's thinking, because from his point of view, Echo is a priest, and so maybe what he's thinking is he would expect better behavior out of him. Like, oh, you've gone mad, you're now
priests
attacking me.
always
behave
well, especially around boys. Yeah.
Walt's missing. Maybe that's what it is.
Walt's safe.
Echo's got him in a cave. Oh, Jesus. All right. Yeah, you're right, though. That it seems kind of a hypocritical judgment on Locke's part. But.
Well, Echo says to John, Anna wants me to help you, John. And then he goes on to tell him that they need to find the question mark. So Locke is like, fine. You want the question mark? He pulls out that crumpled piece of paper in his hand that he had drawn earlier from the thing that he had seen during the lockdown, the blacklight kind of picture that somebody had drawn.
Yep.
The map. And shows him and basically says like, yeah, here's the question mark. It isn't anything real. It's like a 10-second memory that I drew. Locke, and then I think Echo says that he thinks it's a hatch, or I think it's what you saw in what you drew when you were in your hatch. And Locke responds to him and says, it isn't my hatch, which I thought was kind of interesting because it's one of those times where you see him starting to distance himself. Yeah.
Yeah, because at first it was like he was, two-man crew here.
Yeah, well, and he was like, no, this is my hatch. Yeah. Nobody else can know about it.
Yeah.
That's true. Like he did say, it was just a few episodes ago, right, where he said something about Henry like being in, he wants him out of his hatch or something like that. I think, that's true. He did use the word my, and now he's saying that. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Echo points in the drawing to the original's hatch, and then he points in another direction and says, well, now, if that's the swan, then we need to go the other way. Locke is upset that he didn't tell Jack earlier that Henry had attacked Anna because then maybe she'd be alive. And Echo tells him that Anna came to him in a dream and wants him to do this. And then he says, John, haven't you ever followed a dream?
Well, yeah, that's how we got on this island, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, buddy. And this brings us to the next flashback where Echo is in a doctor's office asking what happened about the girl who drowned. The doctor tells Echo that he was called in at about 1 a.m. for a girl who had been drowned for a couple of hours and was dead.
Why? Why would you need to come in at 1 a.m. to do an autopsy? Why not just put her in a fridge and cut her up later?
Yep.
Like, how is that an emergency? If she's dead, why do you need to be there at 1 a.m.? I don't understand that, but whatever.
Yeah, me neither. Echo asks the doctor if he'd ever seen any cases like this before, and the doctor stammers a bit and says how, he's an undertaker by day, but he's qualified to be a coroner because he did go to medical school. Yeah. Yeah, he seems kind of defensive about his
I did
position.
go to medical school. I didn't graduate.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can understand why. Like, he cut her open when she was alive, so he's being defensive about that. Yeah,
exactly. Which you can later on, Echo very much sort of echoes that same sentiment.
Oh.
And Echo wants to know when the doctor found out when the girl was alive, and the doctor says during the autopsy.
What?
Yeah.
And
slicing into her. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he pushes play on the tape recorder, and then it's, he's listening to the autopsy then, which begins with the doctor explaining who the patient was, how she died. And he kind of flirts with the assistant, calls her the lovely Miss something. And then he starts to say, okay, and now making the first incision into her thorax. And then there is this terrible screaming, and to me, it sounded like there were multiple screams going on. I couldn't tell if it was the assistant screaming as well, but
probably, yeah.
I
think it would be scary if a dead body all of a sudden started screaming. I might scream as well.
I would probably start screaming along. Yeah.
I wouldn't. Not that I wouldn't be terrified, but I don't do that when I'm scared. I just go totally silent when I'm scared.
Yeah, but to me, that wouldn't be scared. It would be startled. And I scream when I'm startled.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that makes sense.
So then the doctor stops the tape, hands it over to Echo, and says, I don't ever want to listen to that tape again.
I bet.
Yeah, seriously, get this away from me. Get this lawsuit away from me.
I wonder how far he got into the cut when she started screaming. Was it just as the scalpel went in, or was he a couple inches down?
So there's actually some science behind this. If you fall into extremely
pufferfish venom too will do that.
What will?
Pufferfish venom and
right. No, but what I was saying is about
paralyze you.
Yes. So I'm not talking about being paralyzed. What I'm talking about, this happens with children a lot. It's especially with children, but can happen in an adult. If you fall into cold enough water, your body goes into this sort of temporary shutdown, and it actually keeps you from drowning.
Yeah, I've read that. People have spent 45 minutes submerged in ice cold water.
Yep. But everything about your body shuts down because the water is so cold that it actually saves your life. And so it's not uncommon to be pulled from a cold body of water, look dead, and actually be alive. I don't think it's common to get cut up in an autopsy, but there is some
shriveled too.
Yeah, there's some reasoning behind how this could happen. So anyway.
We go back to the island. Echo is holding the map, and it's funny because he's holding the map up. It's like walking through the dark, and he's holding this map up, and somehow he can see the map, and he's looking around like he's angling things. It's just really, really funny.
Well, it's kind of like the map to the balloon too. We're there's no way
exactly.
that you can't figure out where you are in regards to the map. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's no coordinates. There's no distances.
Right.
Which he boils down here, basically. Locke wonders if Echo is lost, and Echo tells him that his map is inexact.
Yeah. No kidding, says Locke.
Yeah, exactly. He then tells Echo that he doesn't even know if it is a map. All he did was basically transcribe it. He's like, I didn't draw it. I transcribed it. He also, at that point, inquires about the axe. He's like, why did you bring an axe? And Echo tells him, I don't know.
Oh, that's not at all creepy. He said, I don't know yet.
I don't know yet. You're right. That is important. I don't know yet.
Okay. These two cryptic talkers together is kind of funny because they're both like that, right?
So then there's a crack under Echo's foot, and he looks down, and you see one of the heroine Mary statues under his foot.
These never go away.
Those things are everywhere, man.
They are everywhere.
It's everywhere.
I think they said that there was 300 of them.
Oh,
I don't remember that.
I don't know why I remember that number.
Charlie's got him squirreled all over the island. Little
that's what it
is. Yeah. Little junky squirrel. And then obviously because they're there, assuming this wasn't another one of Charlie's stash points, you basically know that they're back at the yellow plane where Echo's brother was. Locke tells Echo that when he found the plane, it was up in a tree, and he points up, even though it's dark, he points up that hillside. And then when Echo asks them how it got to the ground, Locke says, Boone. Boone made it fall. Then he died. A sacrifice the island demanded. And it's weird the way he says that, because it's almost like he's on autopilot when he says that.
Yes.
It's like he's recounting a thought that was his, but he's speaking about it like it was somebody else's thought.
Yeah, you're right. That's a really good description of what happened. Yeah, it did feel that way, where it was just sort of like, I'm relaying this information to you, but I'm not even, I wonder at this point, it's like, does he even believe that anymore?
Yeah.
Especially, well, considering what's about to come up, I'm wondering, like, is he kind of moving toward maybe this island isn't what I thought it was, right?
Yeah.
It was supposed to be my destiny, but it was Desmond in the hatch, and that's somebody that Jack knows. And then, how many times have we heard him say, it wasn't supposed to be this way, it wasn't supposed to be this way? And it sounds a little bit like he's losing faith here, like, oh, yeah, Boone, island, demanded, sacrifice, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
It's sort of what it felt like.
Well, that with the it's not my hatch combo,
Yes, he's like he's not claiming it anymore. So it feels that way, doesn't it? He's losing his faith slightly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Back in the hatch, Ben.
Back in the hatch. Echo is a bit confused by Locke's, whatever.
Oh, sorry,
he's
we're
saying.
not back in the hatch. My fault. We were post island sacrifice. My bad.
Yes. Echo's confused by that remark, but Locke doesn't explain any further, since he was just sort of rattling off.
Right.
I think he was just rattling off what he thought at the time, and it, of course, wouldn't make any sense to Echo. So Locke says, let's just, what are we doing next? And Echo tells him that they need to sleep and wait for further instructions.
Yeah, that doesn't sound nuts at all.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, people that what is that? I think it's called a neuromancy. I think is what it's called, which is people that it's dream magic. People that foretell the future by dreaming or things like that. Neuromancy. Yeah.
I mean, that's not real. That's just a term for the imaginary
No, the
thing.
word is real. Yeah, the word is real. But no.
For fuck's sake. So back in the hatch.
Jack is upset that Locke and Echo are not back yet, and Kate tells him to calm down. Michael, of course, still curious because one of the women he shot is alive, is asking if Libby has said anything. Jack says she's still unconscious, and then says, but her bleeding has stopped. Kate says, that's good news, right? And Jack says, no, that's not good news. And he basically says that there's not much he can do for her at this point except make her comfortable.
Fuck.
Only he doesn't have what he needs. And with that, what he's talking about is the heroin that is being...
Obviously,
that Sawyer is keeping. So he wants Sawyer to get the heroin and insists that Kate go with him. And Kate says, well, basically, why, this isn't a two-person job. Why would I need to do this? Sawyer sees through it immediately and says, Jacko here knows his heroin's in my stash with the guns, so I can either show you where it is and let poor Libby suffer.
Well, got you there.
Yep.
And he asks for confirmation, and Jack says, yeah, that's right. Really, really quickly, very matter-of-factly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Jack's had enough of Sawyer's shit.
Oh, yeah.
He's had enough.
He owns Sawyer right now.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I am manipulating you, and you are either going to be the guy who lets a woman suffer until she dies, or you're going to give me the fucking guns. And like I said when we were playing poker, when I want the guns, I'll get the guns.
Damn right.
To which Sawyer replies, let's go, Freckles.
He knows. Sawyer knows when he's been had.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Kate and Sawyer are walking along the beach, and Kate wants to know how Anna got his gun. And he says she must have lifted it from him. Mm-hmm. Kate questions how she'd be able to pickpocket a gun, and Sawyer says, well, if I knew how she did it, she wouldn't have been able to do it, now would she?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. So they arrive at Sawyer's tent, and then Sawyer picks up a piece of wreckage underneath, like basically, almost like a mattress right there on the ground. Opens it up. It's holed out, and there's the guns, the drugs, all of his high dollar stash all right there under where he slept.
Right there in his fucking tent.
So he hands her a statue. It's pretty smart. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he hands her a statue as Hurley approaches, and he asks, poor thing, he asks if they've seen Libby.
Oh my God. Oh God.
So I don't think you really even hear this conversation, but they kind of pull back.
It's a wide shot.
But you know what's happening.
Yeah, it's like a wide shot.
Kate puts her hand on Hurley's shoulder. It's the same sort of scene where we don't hear Shannon find out that Boone is dead.
Yes.
But she's coming
it's
back
all done
with
through
Saeed.
Body language.
And and it's a wide shot, and you just can see their devastation. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really difficult, I think, to say something like that and have it really feel convincing. I think that's a good way to do that, to avoid anything feeling sort of false or not feeling genuine, is to just not have any dialogue there at all and just let body language do it. It's that's an interesting way to do that, and they've definitely they've used that sort of that trick a few times now.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the with the adventure team, Locke and Echo, Locke is asleep, while Locke is asleep, Echo is poking at the remains of the fire, and then all of a sudden, Yemi pops out of the jungle,
pulls a lock,
Yeah,
it's really, really, really funny. Like if you just pause the scene where Yemi is sitting there, he looks really excited, like he's back in the leaves and everything, and he's got a smile, like he just looks really, really funny. I'm
getting paid for another episode. Woohoo!
And he tells Echo to follow him. So they both climb up the cliff where the plane had been previously perched. And when Echo reaches the top, he finds Yemi sitting in a wheelchair. And Yemi says, wake up, John. And then Echo falls off the cliff. And then right as he hits the ground, it's Locke who wakes up from the nightmare. And Echo is...
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh.
Echo is positively giddy here.
Yes.
Oh, God, yeah. Because he's like, hello, I didn't know the instructions were going to come to you, but now at least you're going to believe me, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Echo tells Locke that he was dreaming, and he asks Locke if there was a priest. And he tells him it was not a nightmare. It was a dream. My cock was like 3 times the normal size. I have no idea what the dream is about. I don't remember shit.
There were no little boys around.
Oh, my God. That would be the first thing I would do, though. Like, if I woke up in Mr. Echo's body, I'm immediately going for the cock. I want to see it.
I'll be checking my junk. Oh, damn, it was just a dream.
Yeah, it's just a dream. I don't know. With a bad leg, having that much extra weight might not be good for him.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
That's true.
Anywho.
Oh, boy.
Locke looks sort of confused, and Echo tells him that the priest in the dream was his brother, Yemi. And he wants to know what Yemi said to him. And Locke said that Yemi wanted him to follow Echo up the cliff. Echo heads toward the ridge to start climbing it, takes the axe with him, and Locke screams at him it was just a dream, and that climbing isn't safe.
Yeah, just ask Boone.
Just ask Boone.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't believe you haven't called him Booth once yet this episode, Ben.
I was about to say Booth just to get that going again.
Oh, hey. Hello, monsignORRRR Booth. So we come to flashback number 3. Echo gets out of his car, and he's at the home of the girl who had died, drowned, whatever. That girl is sitting on the porch, and the mother comes out to tell Echo that now is not a very good time. Richard Malkin, the girl's father, and Claire's psychic, comes out of the house and tells his wife quite forcefully to go inside.
See, so why didn't he prevent her from drowning? Because if he's psychic, he should have known she was going to almost drown, and he could have prevented the whole thing.
Well, he admits it right here that he's a con man, which is interesting, right? Because he did get her on the plane that crashed. Yeah. So what is all that about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He then tells Echo that he's wasting his time. There was no miracle. And Echo is asking him, well, why is your wife so convinced that there was a miracle? Mr. Malkin tells Echo that she's a zealot. And he says it straight up. He's like, because she's a zealot. And she's doing it to spite me. He thinks that she's mad because he makes his life as a psychic, and therefore he's conning people. And he confesses that he's got no powers, and instead he just collects intelligence on people seeking his advice. He says he deals with people every day looking for a miracle, but there aren't any in reality. Not in this world, anyway. Echo tells Mr. Malkin that he will report to the Monsignor that there was no miracle. And as he's leaving the house, he can see the girl that had drowned staring at him from the window.
Mm-hmm.
They did really well with casting her. She's very haunting.
She is very haunting. Her eyes are very haunting.
Just staring at him like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. When we see Charlotte later as the actress is fantastic. Not the same child. We see her later in life, but she's a great character. I'm excited. I forgot that she was introduced this early in the show.
I don't even remember her, tell you the truth.
So she's going to be like season 3, 4, 5?
I don't remember her being on the show later.
I believe it's season 4 is probably when we will see her. Yeah, I think it's 4. It could be the end of 3, but I'm fairly certain it's actually season 4.
All right, we'll see what happens.
4 or 5. I don't know.
Back to the
Keep
present.
going, Ben. I'm going to
Echo
go.
is scaling the cliff where the plane was, and Locke is yelling at him about, be careful, which he does this several times. Like, how helpful is it when somebody's climbing something to scream at them intermittently?
Be careful! Be careful!
Like, seriously.
They need to be concentrating on...
Seriously, shut up, Locke.
Right.
You maybe a Booth wouldn't have gotten so hurt if you were... if you just shut your mouth.
Charlotte is reintroduced to the show in the second episode of season 4.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. So Echo gets to the top and gets to the top of the cliff and surveys the ground below. He starts looking around, looks at all the cliffs, doesn't really see anything. But then when he looks back to where the plane is and where Locke is standing, he sees the shape of a question mark. And the plane itself is lying basically on what would be the dot at the bottom of the question mark.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So now I guess in the interim, Echo has come back down and he tastes the dirt and he tells Locke that the ground had been salted so that nothing could grow there. Locke wonders immediately, why? Why would somebody do that? And Echo says he thinks they did it so that somebody could see that area, could see that place from the sky, would be able to recognize it from the sky. So they start looking around. Obviously, this is a place of importance. Echo starts brushing dirt off things and using the axe, and then all of a sudden you hear the metal thunk in the ground.
Clunk.
What? So they start clearing off all the dirt, and there you go. There's a big old set of metal doors right underneath the plane. They actually have to push the plane a little bit to expose these doors, but then they get there, and then they start to open the doors. And once again, I think you see what's his name, Locke, get really kind of giddy again, because he
even goes, "May I?"
May I? Yeah. Like he wants to open the door, and he gets really, really excited. So they have to lift these doors, and there's something.
Oh my god!
Doing, was that the axe? No.
Is that an axe in your pocket?
It's kind of cruel, though, isn't it? Because we're just talking about how Locke has been losing his faith. They find these new hatch doors. You can see it on his face. He's like, "Oh, wait!" And then they go in, and it's a big.
Yep.
Anyways, we'll get there shortly.
So one thing that kind of bothered me here was it took both of them to lift these doors, right? Like these were heavy doors. Mm-hmm, why would they have two super, super heavy doors at the top of a ladder?
Yeah.
Right. Like how do you get
how would
one
person
get
at the top of the ladder and push that up? Yeah. So that was
maybe
that bothered me.
Plus they were locked too from the outside.
Yeah, maybe it's because once you're in there, you're not allowed to come out unless somebody on the outside is opening it. Essentially. Yeah.
That's
Right.
terrifying.
A little bit.
Yeah, yuck.
That'd be hard no for me.
Yeah, me too. So back in
It
the
is
hatch.
kind of a cool shot, though, when they
Oh, yeah.
when they open the doors and they're looking down into it. It's very
Looks
reminiscent.
just like the end of season 1.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it does. So back in the other hatch, Jack breaks open the Mary statue to pull out the heroin for Libby. In the next room, Hurley tells Michael that he and Libby were about to go on their first date.
Ugh.
And then he says, "I'm glad you're okay, dude," to Michael.
I know.
Yeah.
Made me so pissed. I want to punch the TV.
Yeah, it was a bad moment.
That's tough.
Yeah.
And the look on Michael's face, too, where, I mean, it's like, I expect
Well, Libby
him-
wasn't part of the plan, though.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he's probably still in shock. What I was going to say is I would expect some more emotion when you, like, accidentally murder somebody. But it's almost like Michael's just beyond that now. He's tunnel vision. It's everything is Walt. And
Walt!
but yeah, that moment is gut wrenching when he fucking
it is.
says, "I'm glad you're okay." It's just like, Jesus Christ.
You know, you just shot my girlfriend. Fuck.
So now in the other hatch, Echo and Lim climb down the ladder. And
Echo and
there's
Lim?
Echo and Locke. Is that what I said?
He said
said
Echo
limb.
and Lim.
You said Lim. I heard it too.
That was because I was
monsignORRRR
upset
both
that
Lim.
you...
Jesus.
I didn't. I was upset you didn't say Booth, so now we got a Lim.
Oh, I must
All
have. I
right.
must have Echo and Locke climb. Somehow I just ended
Yeah.
up saying Lim instead of climb. I don't know. Wow.
Echo and Lim and Booth are climbing
Echo
down
and Lim
the
and
hatch.
Booth and all of them are going down the hatch, and there's the familiar sort of Dharma logo with a white circle that we're used to seeing in the Swan. So they come into this
that we're
room.
used to seeing instead of the swan. It's where the swan part is in the logo. Like each hatch,
Yeah,
it's all
with
the
just a
same logo
circle.
with like a different thing. Yeah, and this one's just a white
Yeah.
circle for some reason.
Yeah. So they enter into this room, and there's a bunch of, I think it was like 9 TVs, kind of old
Yes.
school looking TVs, like recessed into the wall.
Tube TVs, yeah, from the 70s.
Yes,
Yeah,
tubes.
cathode ray
Exactly.
tubes. These things are fucking heavy. So Locke turns on one of the screens, and then turns on a couple of the other screens, and eventually he sees like he's looking into their
It's the Swan.
hatch.
What?
It's the Swan.
There's
Yeah.
Jack walking around.
There's
Yeah,
Jack.
What the hell?
What the fuck?
Did they not see those cameras there before? I don't remember. I don't think they did notice the cameras.
They must not have.
Yeah.
But Locke turns on some lights, and then he finds a computer screen with a that says print log, yes, no,
Log.
on the screen. So Lim prints the log.
Lim and log.
I always thought it'd be funny if he clicked it and it just said like PC load letter.
Ooh, yeah. Yes.
Those old dot matrix printers, though, those things are pretty reliable. They're way better than the ones we have today.
Hey,
What
my
is it with
HP
printers
LaserJet
today?
4L lasted for like a decade. That thing was
Wow.
Oh, did
very
it?
stout. Yes.
Wow, I was just about to say, I don't think we've had shit luck with printers.
Yeah,
Every time I buy a printer,
Their
they're
buy,
terrible.
jets are trash.
yeah, every time I buy
It's
a
actually
home
cheaper
printer,
just
they're
throw it out
terrible.
and buy a whole new one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Because the ink is more than the printer.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Echo opens a closet and he finds a stack of notebooks that are blank notebooks. And then Locke finds a pneumatic tube that you used to see in like the drive-through banks where you'd put your card or whatever that
Yeah,
information
they
is.
still
and it
have
would-
those
Yeah, I think they do.
Yep.
for banks, yeah.
So Locke puts his map into one of the tubes and he closes it and gets sucked away. And then Echo goes, "John." Of course, he doesn't say it like that. He says it like Echo would say it. And he holds up a videotape marked orientation.
Oh, snap.
It's on now.
Yeah, buddy.
Woo!
So they put the tape into the machine, and I'm fairly certain this was a Betamax tape.
Yes.
Did you see that? I couldn't.
Yeah.
I
Our
couldn't
first
totally
VCR
tell.
that someone gave us in 1982 was a Betamax.
Yeah. Yeah, we had one too.
Yeah,
I think
so-
It was
like-
actually the superior technology, but VHS won the war. So.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
But wasn't the one that it wasn't the orientation video in the Swan? Wasn't that
It was
a
reel
movie?
to reel.
Yeah.
It was
to
reel
yeah,
to
it
reel.
was real.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I find it
So this one's a
interesting
little
that
bit
that
later.
was reel to reel and this one is beta.
Well, this one's newer because I think it was 1980, and I think
Yeah.
the other ones were from the 70s.
Yep. So
Right,
we're starting to
that's
get a sense
true.
of scope of this project. That it was,
Yeah.
Right.
it had been going on for some time.
Right.
So they start the tape, which has the title screen of the Dharma Initiative 5 of 6 orientation, Station 5, The Pearl.
Oh, the white dot is a pearl. All right.
Oh. So the film begins and we see the same actor, the same guy from the Swan orientation video standing there, but this time without his white lab coat. He says, "Hello, I'm Dr. Mark Wickman." That's a different name than he used in the other tapes, right?
It is.
It is,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
I noticed
okay.
I was like the same person, but different name.
Yeah, that because the name didn't sound familiar to me at all. So I'm just going to read the entirety of the
Yes,
orientation
please.
tape.
Yeah, I put the whole thing in the outline. We did the whole thing when Christy did orientation in episode 3. I think it's very pertinent to
Yes.
the plot of the show. So
Yes.
give it to us.
Hello, I'm Dr. Wickman. I'm Dr. Mark Wickman. Off to a great start. And this is the orientation film for Station 5 of Dharma Initiative. Station 5, or the Pearl, is a monitoring station where the activities of participants in Dharma Initiative projects can be observed and recorded, not only for posterity, but for the ongoing refinement of the initiative as a whole. As Karen DeGroot herself has written, careful observation is the only key to true and complete awareness. Your tour of duty will last 3 weeks, and during this
Tour
time,
of
you and your
duty?
partner...
Yes.
Duty.
It's just a
this
very
time-
military expression for
Yeah.
It is.
what they're doing. But anyways.
And during this time, you and your partner will observe a psychological experiment in progress. Your duty is to
what?
observe team members at another station on the island. These team members are not aware that they are under surveillance or that they are the subjects of an experiment. Working in 8-hour shifts, you and your partner will record everything you observe in the notebooks we provided. What is the nature of the experiment, you might ask? What do these subjects believe they are accomplishing as they struggle to fulfill their tasks?
Oh, yes,
You,
please tell
as
me.
the observer, don't need to know. All you need to know is the subjects believe their job is of the utmost importance. Remember, everything that occurs, no matter how minute or seemingly unimportant, must be recorded. Each time a notebook is filled with the fruits of your diligent observation, roll it up, and then there's a kind of a blip in the video. Roll it up.
Yeah.
Containers provided. Then simply place the container in the pneumatic tube, and presto, it will be transported. It will be transported directly to us. At the end of your 8-hour shift, proceed to the Paula ferry, which will take you back. Which will take you back to the barracks. Prepare for your next shift. On behalf of the DeGroots, Alvar Hanso, and all of us here at the Dharma Initiative, thank you. Namaste, and good luck.
Excuse me, what?
What's the actual
Pushing
fuck?
that button was nothing.
It sort of appears
like those rat
that way.
experiments.
Certainly does.
So going back to sort of an earlier episode, Echo asks Locke if he wants to watch the video again.
Right. That was one of
Locke-
Locke's best lines. We're going to have to
Yeah.
watch that again.
We're going to have to watch that again. Locke, dismayed,
Not this time.
replies, "No, I've seen enough."
Oh,
He just
fuck,
realized
his
it's
whole
all
world
full
is collapsing
of
right
nothing.
now.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
you telling
Gone.
me? What?
He is done.
It's like he
guy.
just
Oh,
watched
he's-
his inner child get executed in front of him. Like he's just
Yeah, Locke is just a limb of himself now.
ah.
Oh my goodness! All right.
Oh man. Before leaving the new hatch, Echo gathers all the papers and says that he's going to take everything back to the Swan. He thinks there may be something important there, and this is where Locke starts to get a little kind of like, I don't know, not outraged, but what's the word? I don't know.
Just
the
so
word.
disillusioned by
That's
everything.
it.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
For
it's-
sure.
Everything he believes.
incensed
Yeah,
is what it feels
incensed.
like.
Like,
Yeah.
this is all bullshit.
Exactly.
I feel like Locke is going to open up the one of those notebooks and it's just going to say like, I am Jack's complete lack of surprise. I am Jack's. What is it? I am Jack's something heart. I can't remember all of that.
I am Jill's nipples.
Oh no.
That was one of them. I am Jack's broken heart. I'm sorry. This is what Locke says. I'm sorry. Weren't you just watching the same thing I was? And Echo says, yes. And now I'm convinced more than ever that the work being done in the Swan is essential.
Hold up. What?
What?
Yeah.
How did he get that?
So it's like a double dare. It's like, so we're going to tell you that this is important, and then we're going to tell you that it's not, and we're going to see if you have enough faith to keep going. That's where Echo's head is at. Locke's losing his, but Echo's going, yes, okay, now that they've shown us this, I know it's even more important because
Echo's believed in it from the stuff he saw at his hatch.
Right. Yeah. So he's seen like the adversity to it. The idea that it's important is now telling him, obviously, it's more important than he even realized.
And Locke, who was a true believer all this time, is just like...
Wow. Losing it. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think some of it has to do with Henry? Has Henry just gotten into his head?
Yes.
And he's...
yes. Definitely.
Right? Like he's more interested in the idea of being wanted, I think, by Henry and the others, because he's found himself unwanted in every important turn in his life.
Right.
Exactly.
And he's like losing his faith over the idea that somebody, was coming for him or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fate.
Yep. So through this, Locke says that that pushing that button is akin to rats in a maze with no cheese. And Echo responds that they're being tested and that they need to keep pushing the button. And Locke gets even more incensed. Starts to unload his all of his shit. He says, "I was never meant to do anything. Every single second of my pathetic little life is as useless as that button. You think it's important? You think it's necessary? It's nothing. It's nothing. It's meaningless. And who are you to tell me that it's not?"
Pity party much?
Yeah, seriously.
I think he's been browbeat by Randy douchebag nations.
Oh, poor Locke. This is like a real moment of weakness for him.
Yeah.
He was such a believer. He was the first one to notice there was something special about the island. Well, I guess in hindsight, we know Rose had a pretty good idea as well. But like he's been so connected to it, and it's all being deconstructed over this season.
Yeah.
It's sad. He finds himself right back in the same place of feeling useless and unwanted, which is how Henry, I guess, is so easily slipping in as that replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of that tirade, we whoosh into flashback number 4, where Echo is in the Sydney airport, just about to get on to flight 815. And standing there, staring at him with her haunting eyes, is Charlotte, the Malcolm's daughter. She tells him that she had to see him before he left because she has a message from Yemi. He was not very enthused about this. He's like, you should not be speaking about my brother. Whatever you say next,
pissed.
You need to.
Yeah, he was
he's
real.
like, you need to watch what
it.
you say next. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't believe that, that anything has happened here. So I guess he thinks that she's trying to manipulate him using his brother in some way. How? I don't know.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah, he's very
what's the upshot?
Pissed at that. She did say, this is something important I want to make sure and put in here because, again, it's going to come up later this season in like questions and theories. We're going to revisit, some of the stuff from season 1, how that's evolved. And she does say to him here that she saw Yemi when she was, quote, between places.
What?
Yeah.
Between places.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So that's important.
She tells him that Yemi said to her that Echo is a good priest, and even though he is pretending, and wants to know that he will see him again soon. And he says, even though Echo has no faith in himself, Yemi has faith in him. And Echo gets
he got really pissed.
Really pissed, really upset, and starts aggressively questioning Charlotte about who put her up to this. At this point,
he doesn't even
airport
believe
security
it.
was going to come.
Yeah, even when she's saying these things to him, he doesn't immediately believe it, which is interesting.
Because how would she know anything about his brother? I mean,
Well, but then also, so
maybe
her
she's the
dad,
psychic.
but her dad had just admitted, like, that his whole con is that he looks people up and finds out
that's true.
information
That's how
about
they do in
them.
real life too.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, we talked about that in
research
season
their
one.
targets. Yeah,
right. They research their targets, but so
facts.
like, I suppose. Like, instead of believing that she actually saw Yemi, it was really easy for him to jump to, like, okay, what is your father up to? Is probably like where that was coming from, I think. But
yeah. So again, he starts questioning her a little more aggressively, sort of gets up closer to her, sort of threatening. And at this point, Libby, who's in the airport, I guess also waiting for the flight, kind of comes up behind him and says, "Is everything okay?" And Charlotte nods at Libby and says she's fine. And then looks at Echo and says, "One day you will believe me."
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So we come back to the exact moment where Locke's little pity party ended. And Echo holds up the cross that is hanging around his neck and says, "This cross is worn by my brother Yemi. Yemi was a great man, a priest, a man of God. And because I betrayed him, he was shot and died. He was placed on a plane which took off from an airship in Nigeria, half a world from here. Then the plane that I was on crashed on this island, and somehow here I found my brother again." So this is this is really, really similar to something that, like, I think Saeed had said in one of the first few episodes, or one of them had said in one of the first few episodes about, like, just what are the chances? What are the chances that we would end up here, that we would end up alive, that all these things would happen? And I think that's
a lot of that was coming
the fact
from
that
Locke.
they survived a plane crash.
Yeah, that was part of the reason that Locke was using as a justification for saying that the island was special, right? Early on, he's telling Jack, like, we were brought here. It doesn't make sense that we survived. Yeah,
he's
exactly.
like, well, how is it
you're
that
right.
this group of people, could be in that kind of crash and only, have some superficial injuries? And
normally when your plane breaks up at 33,000 feet, you're going to have a lot more injuries, or mainly dead. Yeah, you're pretty much dead.
Mainly dead, yeah.
Yeah.
So while watching this, it kind of bothered me. It kind of bothered me for a while, and I finally looked it up. So that plane, that yellow plane that the drug runners were using, it's called the Beechcraft 18. It has a range of 850 miles. And the distance from Nigeria to Fiji, which is about where we think this would be, is closer to 11,000 miles.
Yeah, I didn't think the plane would reach there. Yeah. Single engine.
Yeah, that's
like twin engine.
15 times its operational range.
All right, but I am not going to earmuff Derek here, but I am going to say put a pin in that, because there is an explanation for why that would be possible. We'll get into that in a later season.
Wormholes?
We'll get into that in a later season.
So just kind of getting back to it, Echo says that, and then the plane I was on crashed on this island, and now somehow here I find my brother again. I find him in the same plane that took off from Nigeria, in the same plane that lies above us right now, that has concealed this place. And I took this cross from around Yemi's neck and I put it back on mine, just as it was on the day I first took another man's life. So let me ask you, how can you say this is meaningless?
Yeah.
I believe the work being done in the hatch is more important than anything. And if you will not continue to push the button, John, I will.
He have his two-person crew now.
Yeah, right?
Finally.
I know, I do. I feel like this is everything that Locke has been looking for. Somebody that believes in it the way he does. And now he's kind of given up on that. It's annoying. And I think it's all Henry induced. Yeah, it's a pretty powerful moment when he talks about, that cross was there when he, first killed that guy to spare his brother. And then his brother wore it for years, and then he gets it back on this island. And that's a lot. I feel like it'd be hard not to think there was some plan here.
Yeah.
But
so we go back to the Swan. Jack is injecting Libby with this lethal dose of heroin. And Hurley asks Jack if he can speak to her. And he starts to cry and tells her that he's sorry for forgetting the blankets. Suddenly her eyes leap open and she just kind of looking around, kind of terrified, and she's mouthing things, but she utters the word Michael. And Jack misunderstands her, foreboding message and tells her that Michael's fine and that she doesn't need to worry about him. She takes
her
one
dying moment. Her dying moment. She has
being
to hear Michael's fine.
And she has to realize, there's not going to do shit about Michael. He's fine.
That's gut-wrenching.
She dies. Hurley starts to cry. Kate joins him. Sawyer comes over, comforts Kate, and then the timer begins to sound again. And there's this scene of Echo and Locke walking through the jungle before it cuts back to Michael standing alone in the armory. And the final shot of the episode is a close-up of the computer screen blinking its blank prompt.
Wow.
I thought that it was a very sweet moment when Sawyer was comforting Kate.
Yeah, he does that every now and then. He can be like a sweet, genuine guy as opposed to like the smarmy ass. Wow, so that's 2 intense endings. One last week shocking, and then this week just kind of horrifically sad.
Yeah, with poor Hurley, man.
Yeah.
She's an institution. Fuck.
I am really impressed that Jack went ahead and gave her a lethal dose of heroin.
Euthanized her, basically? Yeah.
Euthanized her. Well, he knew there was no hope for her.
Yes, and I agree, but that's not...
She wasn't in the 88% survival.
Normally, doctors have to let nature take its course rather than assisting. It was the right thing for him to do, in my opinion.
See, when I was younger, I used to be so against that, but now, as I get older, I saw like my grandmother just decay into like basically nothing,
Yeah.
I helped
or even Dad, his last week was just like, it's terrible how people can die.
Yeah.
I helped gain signatures. I went door to door to get signatures for the Washington's Death with Dignity Act way back in the day. Because I support that. I think you should be able to kill yourself if you want to, and you shouldn't have to do it in a destructive, horrific, secret way if you're that sick and you're that terminal. Thing is, Christy, what you were saying, like, doctors have to stay the course or, they can't do harm and that kind of thing. But in this case, the course was death, right? And so he's giving her pain relief. So I think that's still within the doctor's...
It's palliative care, they call it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Palliative care. Yeah.
But they don't give you a lethal dose, though.
No, yes, but I think what he, he saw the writing on the wall. Her last moments were going to suffer.
He had no equipment to save her anyway.
Yeah.
He couldn't have tried even if he had, wanted to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right.
If you put on his wig, he may have gotten.
That's where he gets all his power. Is that wig?
That's his superhero. Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
He's like, I've got my wig. Where are the fucking pens?
Damn you, Booth.
Has anybody seen Booth? All right. Today's fun facts. We are going to learn about the history of the question mark.
Really?
Right. Yes, I can't wait.
Why?
What?
How?
All right. Now, this is the history of the question mark in English, obviously. I do have a couple variations I'll mention at the end, but I'm not going to tackle every language on Earth because I don't want to. So, short history. We don't know where the question mark actually came from. There are a few theories out there. One is a favored theory, but there are a couple fun ones. So, firstly, there is some lore that says the question mark came about by the shape of a cat's tail when it's curious. And there are two versions of this story. One that it comes from the ancient Egyptians, who we know were famous for actually worshiping cats. And another is a story about a monk who took inspiration from his pet cat and drew the symbol in manuscript. There's also a parallel story that suggests that the exclamation mark comes from the shape of a surprised cat's tail. Neither of those are probably true, but...
It sounds good.
It does sound good. Yeah, exactly.
Who's to question it?
All right. A second theory that is probably not true, but is out there, is that it comes from the Latin word quaestio, which means question. And supposedly in the Middle Ages, scholars would write quaestio at the end of a sentence to show that it was a question, which in turn was then shortened to QO. And then eventually the Q was written above the O before steadily like morphing into what is now the recognizable question mark.
That feels a little more, that feels more real.
Yes,
me too.
It does feel more real.
Than cat's tails.
Yeah.
The last one I have is the one that most scholars agree is the most likely scenario.
Okay.
And that says that the question mark was created by Alcuin of York, one of Charlemagne's chief advisors. He was an English scholar and a poet, born in the year 735. He was invited to join Charlemagne's court in 781. This guy, Alcuin, created what was called the punctus interrogativus, or point of interrogation. And this mark was a dot with a symbol above it that looked something like a lightning bolt, a lightning flash. And the lightning flash was supposed to represent the rising tone of a voice used when asking a question. Like that.
Nice.
Like Monsignor.
Like Monsignor.
Monsignor.
So, the new punctuation mark, I guess it spread kind of rapidly from the court of Charlemagne, which obviously had a lot of influence. And it made its way to centers of higher learning and was often interchanged or admitted entirely in the beginning. It wasn't until the 17th century that the question mark gained the familiar form that we will all recognize and the rules of how we use it today. However, it wasn't until the mid-19th century that it first began to be referred to as a question mark. Couple little variations. In Spanish, you will see the question mark at the beginning and the end of a sentence.
I remember that. I'm taking 4 years of it.
In Armenian, it's a completely different shape. I think maybe when we do the pre-show, I'll bring a drawing of it so you can see what it looks like. In Greek, same thing, different shape. And in Greek, it can also be used for indirect questions, not just direct questions. And then in Arabic, you're going to find the question mark mirrored because they write from right to left instead of left to right. So their question mark is backwards to ours. That is the history of the question mark.
Any questions?
All right. I do have questions. Derek, what was your best and worst moment of this episode?
My best moment was when they found that new hatch, because I'm always loving new hatches on this island.
Fuck yeah.
There's a lot of them on there.
You have not seen the last. There are some more.
Well, according to the drawing, it looks like there's, and based on the number of TVs, there's probably 9.
Oh.
Just a guess. It was a question. But my worst moment was more like the saddest moment was, when Hurley found out Libby was shot, and then, the last moments, even though, it was just very sad.
Yeah, it was tough. Tough scene.
Had some dust in my eye.
Uh-oh. That dust gets in your eye every now and then, huh?
That's very rare in a movie or in a TV show, but yeah, this one can do it.
It gets you. Ben.
Yep.
How about you? Best and worst moments.
My favorite scene was when Jack basically corners Sawyer and tells Kate to go with him to get the heroin.
Oh, that was pretty great.
Fucking baller power play move.
Yeah, but it was a checkmate. He knows.
Yeah.
I mean, he and Sawyer have their problems, but Jack knows Sawyer's not going to let this woman suffer. Like
Sawyer's an asshole, but he's not that kind of an asshole.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not a total dick.
He's about my level of asshole. So I can be an asshole, but
worst scene was when Hurley was telling Libby, "Sorry, I forgot the blankets," and breaking down.
Fuck, that's mine too.
Yeah.
That was my worst moment when he apologizes for not having the blankets. It's just like, oh my God, the guilt that this guy is going to deal with now.
Forever. When we look at the guilt he had after the Remember, he was in the mental institution because of the collapse.
The
balcony.
An
and
accident.
now he's right back in this place of guilt. I mean, it's devastating.
One might say he's blanketed by guilt.
My best moment, a lot like Derek, excited about another hatch. I was excited about a second orientation video. That was my favorite moment. Because it just throws this like massive bit of doubt, right? We've all been wondering, is it, what we talked about,
what's going to happen if you don't push the button?
Right? Yeah, those were our fun facts back when they had done the first video, and that's been a question all season. Like, is it real? Is it a test? What's going on? And this it throws this doubt in there, and because it's lost, it's like, well, I still don't know what to believe. I'm really unsure. So I love that moment. Christy, what are your best and worst moments?
My best moment was when Echo headbutted Locke. For as many,
maybe that's why Locke doubts it, because he got head trauma.
Just for as many times as Locke has randomly knocked people out, it was it was time. Then worst moment, the same as you guys. The whole Libby dying. They were going to go on their first date. Sorry, I forgot the blankets. I feel so heartbroken for Hurley. He's such a good person, and he's had nothing but bad luck in a very long time.
So that lottery, man, he's cursed.
Christy, why don't you keep going?
Because the accident happened before he won the lottery.
It's true.
That's true, yeah.
The accident happened. Then he went into the mental institution and met Lenny.
That's right. He got the numbers from.
Right.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so that was some pretty bad luck even beforehand.
He was
interesting that he hasn't seemed... Yeah, he hasn't seemed to identify
to get those
numbers. Christy. Keep going. Give us your best and worst characters and your fucking kill.
My best, Jack, and then Sawyer, and then Echo. I don't always really love Jack so much anymore, but he was in rare form this week. Bottom, Michael. Just Michael. Nobody else is nearly that bad. I'm going to go with my first pity fuck of Hurley. He needs it, And then I'm going to kill Michael.
Don't forget the blankets.
I know, right?
Oh, Jesus.
Damn.
You're going to kill Michael?
Yeah.
We had similar stuff, Christy. My top were Jack, Echo, and Locke. I think it's for all obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Worst character, Michael, and he was the only one. I just didn't even want to put anyone else in the category with him this week. I'm just so annoyed that
there also really wasn't anybody who was that bad.
True, no. Right. And he's just walking around watching the carnage that he's caused and doing nothing about it. It's terrible.
Nope.
I'm going to fuck Echo. I think it's been a while since I've had him. And, why not? And I'm going to kill Michael, too. Fuck him. This is fucking ridiculous. What are you doing? Murdering people, for God's sake. Derek. Tell us about your character choices.
My best was Jack, and I liked, what he did with Sawyer, put him, basically checkmated him and forced him to reveal his stash. Second was Mr. Echo, because I just like what they were doing in the hatch and him and Locke's interaction. And third was Hurley, just because I just felt so sorry for him with what happened. And the worst character, I had three of them. It's Michael, Michael, and Michael.
There you go.
You and Ben did the same thing. You both put that in the spreadsheet.
Well, I couldn't think of anyone else. I'd like both of y'all. And I was like, you know what, Michael, I just hate him so much now that
I saw it this morning and I was like, Ben, I see you're trying to swing the ratings to knock Michael down. He's like, yeah, fuck that guy.
That's right. Speaking of fucking, I'm going to fuck Kate. And I'm going to kill Michael.
All right.
I think Michael lost a lot of points today.
Oh, he's going down the tubes. He's pulling a Charlie.
Yep.
So my top three were the same as yours, Lacy. I had Jack, Echo, and Locke. 1, 2, 3. My bottom three were Michael. I was like, Chaz, Michael.
Oh my God.
I'm going to fuck Ana Lucia in spirit form.
Oh my God.
With or without blood, or it doesn't matter.
Ew.
Fred, I'm going to go without the blood because I had sex with her last time and she was dead at the end of that
red
episode.
badge.
So I need to clean up my act a bit.
Bloody
And then I'm also
corpse,
going to kill Michael.
Non-bloody ghost. Yes, kill Michael. Michael. Fuck Michael.
Yeah.
I'm sure his ratings plunged this week.
Well,
they
Ben,
will.
why don't you update us? What do we got in our ratings after this week?
Our top is pretty much the same. We have Mr. Echo in first place, Jack in second, but now we have Hurley moving into third place. I guess a little sympathy.
What's the point spread?
Brought him into third. 128 for Mr. Echo, Jack with 99, Hurley with 83.
Interesting. So, I mean, people are very slowly closing in, and on Echo, it's going to be interesting to see if he can hang on for the next few episodes and win this thing.
Yeah, I mean, he got some much needed points today. If he hadn't, we would have people within, like Jack would be within 15, 16 points of him right now if he hadn't gotten more points this week. But because it was a strong episode for Echo as well, he's still got a pretty commanding lead. I mean, I think he's still got 25 points on anyone else. Or sorry, he's got like 30 points on Jack right now. So
yeah, that's a pretty big lead, huh? What are the
bottom
worst
of the barrel,
then? Is Michael down in there now?
It's still a two-way horse race with Mr. Cooper at -62, Charlie at -61, and Michael has inched into the third spot with -48 points, kicking Henry Gale out of the bottom three.
Oh,
okay.
So,
wow. I have a feeling
you would
next
think
week
killing multiple characters and being an all around awful person would get you lower than that, but we really hated Mr. Cooper and Charlie.
Yep.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. Well, next week is a Michael episode, and he may dig himself even deeper. I guess we'll have to see. Let's do some final impressions. Ben, how about you?
I mean, I liked this episode a bit more, actually quite a bit more than episode 20. I think this one had an interesting, like, current narrative. I mean, most of what we're doing is we're following, Locke and Echo around on this little dream adventure that they're having. And while the sort of things that happened in the past are shown to be, these are what are actually pushing Echo in the present. So unlike the past, where it felt like the narrative didn't really, like, I think as Caleb said it, that like there wasn't tissue or whatever, there wasn't connective tissue there.
He did say, he said connective tissue. Mm-hmm.
There is connective tissue here, which is what's driving Echo, which is ultimately what's driving the narrative and driving the episode.
Yeah.
It's interesting, I think, again, to see Locke in his sort of fall from grace when he realizes this thing that he thought was his destiny is not really his destiny. And it's interesting to see how he processes that at the same time as Echo sort of takes up his mantle.
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch the transformation of the faith kind of moving out of Locke and into Echo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I thought I loved the episode. I hate that Libby died, but I loved the new hatch. I love the new video. I love the twist now that they're throwing in. Like, okay, is it really an experiment, or is this the test of the test of, and it just leaves so many questions, and I found that super exciting. And I also, I really, I thought Jack had a really strong episode. Like you were saying, Christy, sometimes, he can be annoying, but it was nice to see the way that he stood up and kind of took care of the things that needed to be taken care of, and what he did for Libby, which was obviously sadness. Yeah, I guess at this point, I'm just kind of excited to see the end of season 2. It feels like there's a lot set up here. How is this going to come together? Where is Henry Gale, and are they going to find out the truth about Michael? And it feels like it's really ramping up to a good, explosive sort of ending of season 2. So I'm left very excited after this episode.
I know. Me too.
Yeah. Well, go ahead then. Give me your final impressions.
Oh, I liked this episode much better than the last one. This episode, it did more than just move the plot along. It gave us a lot of big things, big questions. Yeah, I liked it very much. And it helped me to remember a couple of things that are coming up in the future that I had forgotten about. So.
Right. Okay. This is it then. Derek, what are your final impressions? What are your questions at the end of this episode?
Yeah, I like this episode a lot better than the previous one. We discover another hatch, which is always good, and that they can observe all the other hatches. And also, Charlotte, the daughter of the psychic, almost died, but he doesn't believe it's a miracle. And it was also sad to see, watch Hurley watch Libby die.
Yeah.
And Locke realizes that entering the numbers may not be important after all, as important as he thought it was. My biggest question is, what is the purpose of the main hatch, and why, watching the other hatches and the tasks they are supposed to repeat? And what would happen if you really didn't enter all the numbers in? Like, what's the purpose of the whole experiment, basically?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, you just want to know what's really going on with the Dharma Initiative. So, yes, let me tell you, that is something that we will explore over time and over a few seasons, who the Dharma Initiative was and what in the fuck were they doing. But not quite yet. Instead, next week, we're going to do a Lost Season 2, Episode 22. It's called 3 Minutes. It's a Michael episode. I want to make a sex joke right now.
I did too. I was thinking about it, but...
Instead, I would say it's
That's
my
3 minutes.
episode.
Damn, you guys are
He's a
shooting for the stars.
Yeah. 3 minutes.
All right. Instead, I will say it is also my episode. I'll be giving you that 3 minutes, baby, next week. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Monsignor. Lost in My 40s is a Space Bear Media production. Executive produced and edited by me, Lacy J. Sound engineering, editing, and original music by Benjamin Trimp. Like and follow Lost in My 40s on Facebook to interact with your hosts. Plus, follow Space Bear Media on YouTube to watch our episode pre-shows. You can also find us at SpaceBear_media on Instagram and Twitter. Or come to our website, spacebearmedia.com.